Well, now that you've had some time to process and get it all in perspective, because it was happening like real time.
Yes.
Could you give me a little bit more of a description as far as you know as what occurred?
We already gave you the best description we can give.
Okay, that there was at least 2 expansions. The first one basically overlaid creation, and then the next second one
wrapped itself around.
Was wrapped around, so all of creation is encompassed. Creation is completely encompassed.
Yes.
There is no
darkest of the dark.
There is no darkest of the dark. There is no farthest away or to that type of a thing.
Everyone has an even connection.
Even connection, direct access. No one can go and hide anywhere. Because I think I understood something. You can bounce this back and forth if it's not correct, exactly correct.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking about what you had said about what he did with the what God did with severely limiting access to the beyond creation, and then he wrapped creation in the divine realm. That when the God who comes through, all that is of light is going to be happy.
Yes.
But anything that's not will experiencing basically like a fizzling.
Yes.
This way, there's nowhere anyone could run or hide. Because the Anunnaki had done that before when their university was taken down. They ran and hid.
Yes.
And when the universe...
And there's no place to hide and to store God energy to make a bomb.
Yes. There's no secret places they could try to run to or go to or... Hoard or tunnel or...
Bunker down.
Everything is going to have the Haboob come through, and there's no way to escape it.
Yes, they're all going to feel equally.
That's how I was understanding and grasping, because you were saying that this was a necessary precursor.
Yes.
Now, it's making sense now.
Yes.
I was just really, really taken off guard.
Me too.
And honestly, it did not feel comfortable. I wasn't like bad shaky.
You have acclimated yourself to the dark, so that was getting undone. That's why it was uncomfortable.
The uncomfortable was because the darkest of the dark was being undone.
Yes.
And so therefore I was...
No longer needed that acclimation.
There has been a slow distancing of myself from it, but I was still very much connected in the darkest of the dark.
Yes.
So you're processing everything.
Yes, but not a mental processing. More like organizing it.
You're like, not actual physically, but what we would call like, you are doing the work of doing whatever needs to be done to...
It's more like we got a shipment of a bunch of boxes in.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to open up the boxes and put things where they need to go.
Yes. You're going through the mechanics of the process of...
Yes.
Now what do we do with everything like this?
And our roles have adjusted slightly.
Okay, in what way has your roles adjusted slightly?
We just have more openness now.
Okay.
To others.
Were you more limited to others before?
Other realms.
Okay, you have more openness to other realms. In what way?
More of us can go between the guide realm and the angelic realm. Go back and forth because they're like neighbors. There's like an adjoining door now.
So the family can get together better.
Yes. Before there was, think of it almost like a wall with like a window. 2 windows with a gap in between them. So you could talk to the windows, but you couldn't travel from one to the other really. Now, it's just one wall with a door.
And you can go through.
Yes. Like adjoining hotel room.
Oh, wow. That is going to be... That is a big change.
With us in the guide realm.
Are there other places that have had something similar occurred? Or is it something that's limited right now to just the guide realm and the angelic realm?
There are other places, but it's different.
Okay.
And those places wouldn't have any dealings with Earth and you guys.
So it wouldn't make any sense to describe it. But I'm just saying that in a
it would be us and other worlds' guides. But they wouldn't be called guides there. The whole other realms.
So the different realms are having more free access with each other.
Yes.
But they're not like open and just totally intermingling, but there is the ability to.
Yes. And it's not like all of us can just run in there at once, be like a few at a time. So it's not to overwhelm each other.
In each realm, there is a comfort and there's a way of handling and a way of doing, and a huge influx back and forth would disrupt each individual realm.
And the window thing, like how we have a wall on one side, a wall on the other side, and a gap in the center and two windows, is more like it's between us and the divine realm now.
So that's more open also.
Yes.
Everything is more open and freely interacting.
And there's like a clothesline in between the divine realm and the angelic realm, so we gotta pass along things and back and forth. Before we would have to call on the telephone. Now we can actually trade stuff back and forth.
It's sort of like, I'm going to give this illustration for people who are on Earth to understand. On Earth, when air travel became affordable, that all these different countries and places that were difficult to access suddenly became accessible. And as that became more accessible, the distinct cultures that existed on Earth before air travel was easy were this is the Japanese culture, this is the Mexican culture, this is the Peruvian culture. But people from, say, Alaska didn't really have access to Japan easily.
Yeah.
Or people from Japan didn't have access to people from Denmark.
Exactly.
Those cultures, though they may be able to, they could write letters, they may even have seen books or things, information could be shared back and forth. You couldn't actually go there and be in that culture. And that once air travel became available and affordable, it was possible for somebody from Denmark to go to Japan and spend time in Japan and come back to Denmark and tell people firsthand, this is what Japan was like.
Yes, okay, yes.
So that personal interaction into different cultures is opened up at that point. So the different realms are like each like a culture. They had their, like you talked about how the guide realm had their way of celebrating.
Yes.
And the angelic realm have their way of celebrating, but they were different.
Yes.
That would be compared on Earth to like cultures.
Okay.
And so you may have one culture has their traditions for celebrating a certain holiday, and another culture would have their own traditions for celebrating the holidays. But now the ability to, if someone wanted to go and experience what it's like to experience those traditions, they are more accessible now than they were in the past.
Yes.
Before it was a book and a postcard and maybe a story, but now you could actually go, which will help to stave off hierarchical ever coming back.
Yes.
Because it's not going to be this culture is closer to God and has more access to this or more access to that. They all have equal access.
Yes.
And so it's making sure everything's fair and equal and you get to know each other better, and it opens up the whole
thing.
Because like for instance in America 70 years ago, the idea of Buddha, yoga, mantras were relatively unheard of except for in people who had immigrated from those places.
Yes.
Maybe a limited one person here or one person there. But now it's common.
Yes.
They're familiar with somebody says, Om. Everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yes.
If you could quote something from Buddha, and other people have heard the quotations, so it's going to make it all more comfortable with each other and interacting with each other.
Yes.
But you will still have your cultures. Your cultures are still going to be your cultures in your way. It's just you'll be able to interact more.
Yes.
So that's going to be wonderful.